The room was already full when I stepped into the courthouse. People sat in long rows, whispering and pointing as if they already knew the end of my story. The air felt heavy, and the wooden floor made a dull sound under my shoes. I walked slowly, not because of my age, but because of the weight on my heart. My own daughter, Nara, stood on the other side of the room, not even looking at me. She acted like a stranger. Nara wore a bright suit, and her face carried the kind of confidence that made her look untouchable. Kelvin stood beside her. He was smiling proudly, with his hands in his pockets, as if he was the one running the whole court. When he noticed me, his smile grew wider. He whispered something into Nara's ear. She nodded and raised her chin a little higher. When I finally took my seat, she turned to me for the first time. Her eyes were cold and sharp. She leaned forward and said quietly, "This is the end for you. I will leave you with nothing." Her words cut deeper than any knife. Not because of the property she was fighting for, but because she did not speak like a daughter anymore. It felt like she had rehearsed it, like someone had taught her how to hurt me without any shame. Kelvin rested his hand on her shoulder, as if to remind her that they were a team. My lawyer, Barrister Tunde, sat to my left. He was a calm man who never raised his voice. He kept his files neatly arranged and only spoke when necessary. He gave me a small nod, trying to show that I should stay steady. I nodded back, even though my chest felt tight. As the judge entered the courtroom, everyone stood. Madame Olaremi was a woman who always looked serious. But when she saw Nara, her face softened. They exchanged a small smile, one that told me clearly that they knew each other well. I had heard they were schoolmates long ago, but I never knew their bond was this strong. The judge struck her gavel lightly. "Court is now in session," she said. Nara lifted her hand as if she had been waiting for that exact moment. Kelvin whispered again, feeding her confidence. She spoke loudly, telling the court that I was no longer capable of handling my own affairs. She said I had become careless, forgetful, and irresponsible. She talked as if I wasn't even there, as if I was already gone. People around us murmured, some shaking their heads, others looking confused. I sat quietly, breathing slowly, letting her talk. Barrister Tunde wrote notes on a small pad, his face calm. As her words filled the room, my hand slipped into my pocket. I touched the small item I had kept hidden for months. It didn't make me angry. It simply reminded me to stay calm, because truth has its own strength. And for now, the trial had only just begun. Long before the courtroom, before the papers, before the shouting, my home used to be a place of peace. Nara was once the kind of daughter who would rush to greet me whenever I came back from work. She would help me arrange my files, follow me to the shop, and tell me everything about her day. Even after her mother passed away, she stayed close to me. It was only the two of us then, and for a long time, that was enough. Things began to change the year she met Kelvin. The first day she brought him home, he acted kind, polite, and humble. He greeted me with respect and listened to everything I said. But as weeks passed, I noticed small differences, little things that did not look dangerous at first. Whenever Nara and I discussed something, he would add comments that made me feel like an outsider in my own house. If I offered advice, he would smile and say, "Times have changed, sir," as if my years of work meant nothing. Over time, Nara started repeating his words. She didn't ask for my opinion anymore. She only compared me to other people, saying they were faster, more modern, or more successful. I didn't argue. I simply watched my daughter slowly drift into someone else's shadow. When I got older, I asked Nara to help me manage the business accounts. It was supposed to be a simple arrangement, just helping with records. I trusted her without a second thought. She grew up inside that business. She knew how hard I worked to build it from nothing. But not long after she took over the accounts, arguments began. She started asking for control over more things. At first, it was small. Signing authority, access to certain documents, the shop keys. Then she began to make decisions without telling me. Whenever I tried to talk to her, Kelvin would appear. He always said something that made me look unreasonable. "Sir, you should rest," he would say softly. "Why stress yourself? Let the younger ones handle things." The more he said it, the more Nara believed it. One day, I discovered that she had moved money from one business account into a private one without telling me. When I asked about it, she didn't deny it. Instead, she shouted that everything should already belong to her. Kelvin stood behind her with a calm face, almost proud of the fire he had created. That was the moment I knew this was no longer a misunderstanding. Something deeper was happening. Something planned. Soon after, she stopped visiting me. She only sent messages asking about documents, properties, and rights. Then one afternoon, I received the court papers. She was taking me to court, claiming I was too old to manage anything. I sat in my house that day, staring at the walls, trying to understand how we had reached this point. How a daughter who once held my hand now stood prepared to take everything from me. But even then, I did not hate her. I only wished she would remember who raised her. The second day in court felt even heavier than the first. I arrived early, hoping to clear my mind before the room filled up. Barrister Tunde sat beside me, quietly checking his documents. He did not say much, but the calm way he arranged his papers made me feel that he knew what he was doing. I trusted him, even when everything seemed to be working against us. When Nara entered, she did not look at me. She walked straight to her seat with confidence, holding a folder thick with papers. Kelvin followed closely behind her, pretending to look worried, though anyone who looked at him long enough could see the satisfaction hiding in his eyes. The judge called everyone to attention, and Nara immediately stood up to speak. She talked about how she had been carrying the family responsibilities for years. She told the court how she saved my business from falling apart. She even said she had been helping me because she was afraid I might lose my mind one day. Each sentence, she said, felt like a small stone thrown at me. Not because the court believed her, but because she believed herself. She spoke with so much confidence that even lies sounded like truth. Kelvin added his own comments. He pretended to speak with respect, but his words were shaped to destroy my image. He said he only wanted peace in the family and that the case was meant to protect me from myself. His voice sounded soft and caring, but I knew the kind of man he was beneath that calm tone. People in the courtroom murmured. Some nodded in agreement. Others exchanged confused looks. I sat still, hands folded, refusing to show the hurt inside me. I was not there to argue. I was there to let the truth speak at the right time. Barrister Tunde finally stood up. He did not shout. He did not try to match Nara's fire. Instead, he asked the court simple questions. Who handled the accounts before the conflict? When did the complaints from my customers begin? Why were certain withdrawals made late at night when I was home sleeping? The room grew quiet. Kelvin's smile faded slowly. Nara shifted in her seat. But even at that moment, Tunde did not bring out the strongest evidence. He was patient. He said the right moment had not come yet. As he continued, I placed my hand in my pocket again, feeling the small item I had carried for months. It reminded me that even though I was old, I was not helpless. I had prepared long before the case began. I knew something was wrong, and I had taken steps quietly. Still, I did not react. I only listened. I watched the judge trying to balance her friendship with Nara and the facts being placed before her. I could see she was struggling. She wanted to support Nara, but the truth was slowly forming its own shape. The day ended with more questions than answers, but the air in the courtroom had changed. For the first time, Nara did not walk out looking as sure of herself as before. By the fourth day in court, it was clear that Nara believed the case already belonged to her. She came in wearing a bright outfit and a smile that showed no worry at all. She moved like someone who had already won, as if she was just waiting for the judge to read her name on a certificate. Kelvin stayed close, walking beside her with slow, steady steps, his face calm but proud. The courtroom was quiet as people settled into their seats. When the judge entered, Nara gave her a small wave and a warm smile. Madame Oloremi nodded back, not in an unprofessional way, but in a way that showed their old friendship. Anyone could see they shared a past, and Nara used that comfort like a shield. As soon as the judge asked the lawyers to proceed, Nara stood up before her lawyer even spoke. She said she wished to address the court personally. Her voice was strong and clear, the type that made people turn their heads. She said she cared about me more than anyone else. She said she had been carrying my responsibilities for a long time, She told the court I was too tired to handle anything serious. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully, shaping each sentence to make herself look like a perfect daughter. At first, people listened quietly. Then I noticed some faces in the crowd begin to change. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked unsure, wondering if they should believe her or not. Kelvin watched every reaction from the crowd, smiling anytime someone nodded. Nara continued speaking, explaining how she had been fixing my mistakes, how she had been protecting my business, and how she was the only one strong enough to keep things together. Not once did she mention the nights I stayed awake just to pay her school fees. Not once did she mention the years I carried the business alone to make her life easy. She only spoke about what she believed she deserved. When she finished, she sat back down confidently. She didn't even look at her lawyer. She believed she had already done enough to win. Kelvin whispered something to her again, and she smiled to herself, touching her folder as if it already held her victory. Barrister Tunde rose slowly. He did not rush. He did not show any sign of fear. He looked at Nara, then at the judge, and then at me. He simply said, "I will speak in due time." His calm reply made Kelvin frown slightly, but Nara kept her confident smile. I sat quietly, watching my daughter. She looked so sure of herself that she didn't notice how her words were twisting the truth. She didn't notice how she had changed. She didn't even notice me sitting there. The man who raised her? The man she once used to run to when she was afraid of the dark. As she arranged her papers, she kept glancing at the judge with a hopeful expression, certain she had done everything right. My hand quietly touched the item in my pocket again. I held it gently, not out of fear or anger, but because it represented something she had forgotten, something she never expected me to carry with me. All around me, the courtroom buzzed softly with whispers, but inside I felt only calm. Nara had shown her full confidence. She believed everything was already in her hands. She believed nothing could stop her. But the truth has a quiet way of standing up when it is ready, and soon it would speak for itself. The courtroom was quiet when the final day of the trial began. Even the walls seemed to listen. Everyone looked tired from the long week, but Nara still carried the same confidence she had shown from the start. She walked in with her head high, believing the judge would soon hand everything over to her. Kelvin stayed right behind her, his hands in his pockets, watching the room as if it belonged to him. Barrister Tunde leaned toward me and whispered, "Today is the right time." I nodded, placing my hand inside my pocket. The small item I had been carrying all this time felt warm, as if it had been waiting patiently for this moment. The judge asked Nara's lawyer to speak first. He repeated the same points they had been pushing since day one, explaining how I had lost control of my affairs, and how Nara had sacrificed so much to take care of me. Every sentence made her look like the perfect daughter, the one saving the family from falling apart. Nara stood up again, adding more words to support her case. She spoke with a soft, sad voice, pretending she was only trying to help me. She acted like someone who had carried a huge burden for years. Anyone who didn't know the full story might have believed her. When she finished, she sat down with a slow smile. Kelvin lightly tapped her hand, as if congratulating her for a job well done. Then it was our turn. Barrister Tunde rose and walked forward. His movements were calm, almost slow, but his voice was firm. He began by thanking the court for allowing both sides to speak. Then he explained that true responsibility comes with honesty, and that true care does not hide things. He asked the court to look at the financial reports again, reports that showed late-night withdrawals made when I was asleep, transfers done without my permission, transactions signed in my name with handwriting that was not mine. People leaned closer, whispering softly. Then he turned to me. "Sir," he said, "please show the court what you have carried with you." I stood slowly, reached into my pocket, and brought out a small recording device. It was old, scratched on the side, but it worked perfectly. When people saw it, they shifted in their seats. "I kept this because I felt something was wrong," I said gently. Tunde played the recording. The room fell silent as Nara's voice filled the speakers. It was a private conversation she had with Kelvin weeks before the trial, one I had recorded without drawing attention. In the recording, Nara talked about taking control of my business, selling certain properties, and making sure I had nothing left to fight with. Kelvin's voice followed, telling her exactly what to say in court and reminding her that the judge was her old friend. The judge's face changed immediately. Her eyes widened. Her posture stiffened. Nara froze. Kelvin's hand slipped off her arm. The courtroom buzzed with shock. Some people covered their mouths. Others stared openly at them. For the first time since the trial began, Nara looked small, unsure, and frightened. She tried to speak, but her voice shook. Kelvin looked away, unable to hide his guilt. The judge hit her gavel and asked for silence. Her tone was firm, sharper than before. She reviewed the evidence carefully, reading the documents and listening again to the recording. Then she looked at me with a different expression, an expression that showed respect. When she finally spoke, her words were clear. I was fully capable. I was truthful. And everything, every property, every right, every document remained mine. Nara bowed her head, tears running down her cheeks. Kelvin had no more words. Their confidence disappeared like smoke. I did not smile. I did not celebrate. I simply breathed. The truth had spoken. And what I pulled from my pocket had changed everything. The trial ended, but the lesson stayed with me. Love can turn cold. Trust can break. But truth, when handled with patience, still has its own power. And that was how it all ended. As the courtroom fell silent and the truth finally came to light, justice was served. The daughter's overconfidence couldn't hide the deception, and the father's patience and careful planning had won the day. It was a powerful reminder that truth and integrity always triumph over greed and lies. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting revenge stories.